Hello and welcome back to the Villa podcast. I'm here once again with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. Tired. New job. Been working the last 4 days. Shout out to the Forex pub. We're not sponsored by them, but it's a nice place. Good pub, serve good food, and I've enjoyed working there the last 4 days. Dan's been trying to get me on this for the last couple of days, and I've just been impossible to reach. So sorry for that, mate. But I join you in some pretty good circumstances, mate, because well, we all know what's just happened in the last few hours. Our skipper's only gone and done it, hasn't he?
I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest. I'm obviously delighted for Jack. He's surely going to be delighted as well. But there is obviously it's a second choice really. But we won't dwell on that too much because our captain is now in the England squad. We'll be facing up against our man Berke Bjarnason potentially, Dan, against Iceland in the Nations League games. Shout out to Berke. Don't think we're not going to talk about Bjarnason on this podcast. If you knew, we're huge Bjarnason fans. Always have been. I mean, that Prince, he's so good. But Grealish, I mean, obviously it's come at the news that Rashford and Harry Winks have dropped out. Funnily enough, a winger and a midfielder, which is two positions that Grealish plays, isn't it, Dan? We spoke about this before. Yeah. Two have dropped out. He's only called one in. So it's an interesting one, really, isn't it, Dan? I'm so happy, and I'm sure you and many other Villa fans, as soon as they saw that news, like yourself on your lunch break earlier, it just made your day, didn't it?
Yeah, bro. I was there and I was absolutely knackered. I've been serving on these tables. I was shattered. Sat down, had this massive Sunday roast that one of the chefs had just cooked up before. I was like, I'll just check Twitter, open up my phone, bang, straight in there. Jack Grealish has been called as the England squad. I was like, can this get any better? Look, he's not first choice. He's not second choice. For some reason, Ainsley Maitland-Niles is. Yeah. I ain't prepared to talk about that. But he's in there, mate. And that's what I feel that Jack's just... I feel it's a bit irrelevant, to be honest with you, where he's come in the pecking order. As long as he's there, and if he gets the minutes, I think he'll prove himself. And I just think he needs that break. Because as soon as he gets out on the grass, then I think Southgate... And there are plenty of people that doubt Jack. And I can sympathise with him for a lot of it because he has been a little subpar since Christmas. And if you take that goal against West Ham away, which did redeem everything, don't get me wrong, but his post-lockdown games weren't great either. A lot of Villa fans thinking that his head had been turned. But look, he did the business when it mattered most, and that's where you need your captain. I'm so proud of Jack, so happy for him. Us Villa fans, we've witnessed this journey from boy to man and all the ups and downs, and there have been many that have come in between. But here he is, mate, and hopefully in some nice games. Iceland and Denmark, they're going to be two competitive games. It's not like we're going to see him play against a San Marino or an Estonia or Macedonia or someone like that. Like he's going to be in some good quality games there in the Nations League. And I'm really looking forward to it, mate. With Ty in there as well. Let's not forget. We've got to give him his shouts too. It's great that he's made the squad, and chuff for the both of them.
I think the best news about this, Dan, is the thumbnail that I included in the last podcast can be used for this. I've been so upset about that.
Get it on.
So that will be the thumbnail of this video. So appreciate that, you guys. It's great as well. Jack is the 76th player to represent England from Aston Villa now, which makes us the second most. The club with the second most players that have gone on to represent England, which is amazing. Only second to Tottenham Hotspur, which was not that surprising, I guess. Surprised to see Man United down in fifth with 68. So, I mean, there's still a lot of players, but it's just really good news. You always want your players to go and do well for their country. Whenever the World Cup or the Euros are on, me and Dan are always texting, how Egypt are doing, see how Elmo's doing, things like that. So it's always good to see your players, especially when it's Jack and it's English, obviously from your country, your area. So it is just really good to see. So proud of Jack, and it's a huge moment for his family and the club as well, of course. And just finally on Grealish is, I think, even if he isn't first choice, as we've said, he clearly wasn't. That time on the grass is going to be so important because if you speak to anyone who has worked with Jack, they will say he is genuinely one of the best players on the ball they've ever seen. Shout out to Richard Flash from UCFB. Flash knows quite a few of the coaches at Leicester who have worked with Jack and has said on many occasions that I think Sherwood has told a load of people, obviously that's well documented, that Grealish is the closest thing England have had to Gaza, and people can't believe what he's like on the training ground, the things he can do. So for those of you who maybe listen to the podcast who aren't Villa fans for whatever reason, you just wait and see what Jack Grealish can produce for England. But although this is a podcast titled about Grealish, there's probably not going to be enough words to fit in the main stuff of the podcast. What we want to talk about, first of all, is Matty Cash. This is a deal that is wrapping up pretty quickly by the looks of it. It's been reported by Alan Nixon, John Percy, two very reliable journalists when it comes to Aston Villa news. And of course, all the in the knows on Twitter. We can't forget about them.
Obviously, they know what we're talking about.
That Jake guy, whatever his name is, he knows. But yeah, Matty Cash, Dan, it's an interesting one. We bid 10 million and it's, I think we've had a 12 million bid rebuffed as well. So it looks like it's going to be around the 15 million mark for Matty Cash. Apparently a Villa fan as well is Cash. What are your thoughts on this one? Because he's a player who broke through at Forest as a winger, played a lot of time there, and then under Lambucci this season, has featured as a right back, a very attacking right back. The defensive side can certainly be polished there, but I think it kind of leaves the question down: where does Cash fit in at Villa? What position do you see him playing, or do you potentially see a potential change in system for Villa and fit him in as a wing back or something like that?
Yeah, I do think I think we'll see him operate further back. I think we'll see him slot in as a fullback because I think he gives us something a little different to what Fred does. And look, I love Fred. I know you do too, Dan. I think after Jack, if you're talking about our most consistent players and the players who I thought probably had one of the better seasons, I think Fred would be right up there. I thought the vast majority had his moments, don't get me wrong, but everyone in that defence did. But, on the whole, I was really impressed with him that he won the Villa fans over with those really aggressive slide tackles. And as you're talking about, he's got a real willingness and he seems to really enjoy playing for the club. And so I think a lot of fans warmed to Fred. But he's a more defensive fullback. He doesn't offer he gets forward a lot, but he doesn't have the crossing, and he can't tuck in and sort of underlap the winger. He's more of an overlapping fullback, and he hasn't really got the capability to come inside and cause danger there. But that's where Matty Cash sort of fits in. As you said, he's played as a winger before. There's a fee rising up to about £15 million apparently, which is a lot of money. But after Forest, I thought they were going to go up at one point this season. I thought Forest were looking really good under Lambucci. They failed to go up, and there's been a host of interest from Premier League clubs, which is always reassuring, isn't it? Fulham were interested. Sheffield United actually placed a bid, according to the Independent, of 10 million, which was rejected. He's attracted from a lot of Premier League clubs. A lot of players want him. A lot of clubs want him. And he seems a really good player. He's aggressive in the tackle, shows a real willingness to get forward, mate. I'm really, really impressed. He's not a player I've actually seen too much of, to be honest with you. I've done a little bit of reading and looking into his game since we've been linked with him. But I can't see why, it's one of those where it might take a little bit of time to adjust, but I can't see why this wouldn't be a good signing for us, mate. At the very least, to provide competition for Fred.
Yeah, and again, that's something that we kind of talk about in a lot of the podcasts, really, Dan, is the fact that then there is that need in the fullback positions, both on the left and right, for competition, because there is a bit of a drop-off. But you guys are probably bored of hearing us say that. You guys already know that we need some competition in at right back. I think, funnily enough, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments though, guys, Matty Cash's debut was against Villa and he scored. It was the game where Jonathan Kodjia scored that fantastic goal on the turn from outside the box. At the City ground. It was a wonderful goal. That I believe that was Cash's debut, and I think he scored against us. So, I know you guys will correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So do let us know on that. But no, I think Cash would be a really good signing, especially if you look at someone like Konsa. We paid 12 million for Konsa, so for that kind of money, going for a Championship player with a lot of potential, it seems reasonable, to be honest, Dan. And I know Sheffield United have gone for. Not Sheffield United, sorry, Leeds United have signed Notch from the Bundesliga, who's a great fullback and seems to have got very good value out of him, someone who's played for the national team and some European football. So it's all about just trying to find the value, really, isn't it, Dan?
Well, at 23 years old as well, mate, which I think is something that has to be considered with Matty. He's a player with a bigger ceiling. He fits this profile. And look, it's the title of this podcast is going to read very differently to the last. It is a bit of a come down from Higuain and Cavani. I'm a bit of fan of that. But still something to get very excited about, mate. And it's I'm happy that we're signing players on the defensive end. I don't think we'll discuss him too much in this podcast because there's another player we've got to get onto. But it's good to see that we've been linked with Emmi Martinez from Arsenal. Had a great game yesterday, I thought. On Saturday in the Community Shield. I thought it was really impressive in that, and it's good to see that we're starting to be linked and we're showing that we don't just rest on our laurels and say that we're okay defensively post lockdown. We'll just focus on the attack. That we are looking into reinforcing the defence, which let's not forget the stats will tell you that was where our weakness lied this season was in the defence, and so it's good to see we're looking at players that will hopefully help us clear that up.
Absolutely. And on Martinez, there will be an article in the description below that I did for another site. So if you want to find out more about Martinez, you can read down. I'm sure we'll talk about him in future podcasts when we hear more about that. Finally, not finally, our penultimate player we'll talk about. It's been a bit more quiet regarding this player from Reading, John Swift, I believe. Is his name, and he is a very decent midfielder, to be honest, in the Championship. Plays at the base of the midfield in that number 6 role, and is a player who looks capable of making the step up to the Premier League. It's always, I think, when you're looking at players in the Championship, I think it's easier for a pacey fullback like Matty Cash to make the step up because he's got the attributes needed, whereas a sitting player like Swift may sometimes find it a bit more difficult just to adjust to the pace of the Premier League. He's not necessarily as quick as someone like Cash. Obviously, he's occupying a completely different position with a whole host of different responsibilities. But we've seen midfielders like John McGinn make that transition so easily. And Swift's an interesting one, isn't he, Dan?
Yeah, so it's a player that a lot of Villa fans were quick to write off. Which I was slightly surprised with. But he's a player that I think could be a really interesting role player for Villa. I think that's all it would be. I don't think we're signing John Swift to play first team. Every week in, week out football. But at the very least, if you consider the role that we intended Danny Drinkwater to play, then this guy looks great. Come through at Chelsea. Which is always a good sign. A fantastic academy. He's actually played in the Chelsea full side. He made his debut for Eden Hazard. I think it was a victory against Cardiff a few years ago. He came on for Eden Hazard and made his debut for Chelsea. And there's been a bunch of loans. Brentford actually picked him up as well, which is another encouraging sign. And he signed for Reading permanently in 2016. He's done really well there. He's played 126 games. He scored, I think it's 22 goals, if that's off the top of my head. Which, considering he's far from an attacking midfielder, he's a very central box-to-box profile. Is a really good record. He's just 25 years old, and again. If you pick up these players for the right prices from the Championship, then they can do well. I think it's only about £5 million that he's being touted for. And I know the last £5 million centre midfielder from Reading didn't exactly go on to have a great career at Villa Park. Shout out Aaron Tischbowler. Hopefully John Swift can pick up where he left off. And hey, we're it's all about competition, as we say, mate. And look, John Swift, I know it's a with no disrespect intended, when we're looking at players that are going to improve the first team, John Swift isn't perhaps the first name that you've been looking for. So Villa fans did seem a little bit disgruntled with that. But hey, you've got to trust the recruitment. It's good to see that these players, and we're edging towards deals that just help improve the squad and the size of the squad. I saw John McGinn talking to the Sun about the message that Wes Edens sent the squad after they the last game of the season. I don't know if you saw that, but he was just saying that the chairman immediately messaged the players, reassuring them and saying that it wanted to bring players in, not just to improve the first team, but to improve the squad depth as well. And that's where I think we see John Swift fit in.
Absolutely. And that's really important for fans to know if you haven't seen that quote. It's, you know, those who are already calling for Lang to be sacked and complaining that we've not made signings again, it's fine. You can look at Chelsea and see the business they've done. It's absolutely insane, but they've been planning for that for the past 2 years, really. Again, not many Premier League deals have been done. Not many deals just in general really have been done. And you're not going to see too many high profile ones. So Villa will get the business done that they need to get done. I am absolutely confident of that. And, you know, I'm expecting at least 4 players, to be perfectly honest, Dan. And, you know, with the way things are picking up with Cash, potentially Martinez as well, which will be talked about in another podcast, you've just got to trust the process, really, you know. And I understand that can be quite hard because for the past 8 years we've had somewhat of a questionable relationship with the board and the CEO and the scouts with players that have been brought in and false promises. But Edens and Suarez are absolutely, you know, undoubtedly they're winners. They're in this for the long term, and if you know, trust the process, then I'm sure we'll be reaping the rewards of that within the next, you know, 5 to 10 years time. So we just have to be patient with the club. And finally, we'll talk about a random one that always keeps popping up, Dan. It's Moussa Marega of FC Porto, a striker who we were linked with last season. We were even linked with him when we were in the Championship, weren't we? Which seemed absolutely mental because he's playing Champions League football. Obviously not unheard of. You've seen some of the players that Wolves signed in the second division. But it's... I've only seen one tweet about it, and I believe it was from Villa Report. I can't remember who the source was. So, you know, I don't think this one will happen. It's a lot of money as well, for 30 million. But Morega's an interesting striker, isn't he? For people who aren't aware, he's a very quick striker. Very big, a physical presence. Kind of a more refined Tammy Abraham, I think I'd say. Would that be a fair way to describe him, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's a player that came through, sort of emerged in France with Amiens, made a switch to Porto, and he's done really well there. He's scored 45 league goals in 96 Liga Portuguesa games, which is a great record. And this season under Sergio Conceição, Porto have had a really great year. They won the league. Morega was crucial in that. He's bagged himself a few goals, played like 35-40 games, scoring 17 in total, grabbed a couple in the Champions League. But there's a really interesting moment in the season that really, because as you said, we've been linked to him for ages, and I saw this moment in the season, and just a really good moment in sport. So it was back in February, and unfortunately, as is the problem with football nowadays, in England and abroad, Morega was subjected to racial abuse during a game, and his response to it was just great. So he just put up 2 middle fingers. It's a great clip. I advise everyone to go. Just puts up 2 middle fingers to the crowd and just walks off. He's subsequently substituted, and then the Portuguese press brilliantly rallied around him. Ebola, a newspaper that's Ebola, not Ebola. Gave him a perfect 10 in the match ratings. The Portuguese FA rallied around him, and then he came back in a home game against that same side and scored 2 goals against them. So he's a great character. I saw that. I was like, yes, I like this guy. I like what he's about. So he's a really powerful runner. He's, as you said, a really big presence, and you know, someone that scored 45 league goals in 96 games for Porto. It's not someone you can turn your nose up.
Absolutely not. It's I think the only thing, I think because we've just been continuously linked with him, it's one of them ones where it's probably a non-starter. It's just something that the papers have made up. But you know, if you sign a Moussa Marega, that is a true statement of intent to what Aston Villa want to achieve within, you know, even the immediate future. A fantastic striker would most definitely be welcome down Villa Park. It'd be nice to see him link up with Cavani and Gonzalo Higuain as well, Dan, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure, that would be nice. But I think we'll have to wait on those ones.
We will have to be more patient on them ones. We will be signing players of that quality in years to come. I don't doubt that. You just got to trust the process, and I think that's the message I want to leave the podcast on. Really, is that, you know, we've got people at the club who we can rely on, and you know, our Jack has now been called up, which is another sign to think, well, you know what, he doesn't actually need that move to Manchester United to get in that England squad. You know, he's proved that he is capable of getting there with Villa. So I do expect Grealish to be with us for at least one more year. I will, that is. It's important to preface that I don't think he'll be here forever. You never know. Hopefully he will. Hopefully it can be like a better Gabby in terms of serving the club and stuff. But it's just a really happy day, Dan, and I'm sure it's made your shift better. It's made everyone's days better just hearing about this. And again, just on a final note, Jack just needs to really take this opportunity like it's his last and show to everyone why he deserves to be in that squad, because come the Euros, I'm sure we'll all be donning Jack Grealish 10 shirts, won't we? England shirts. I just really hope it happens, Dan. I'm so happy for Jack.
Yeah, me too, mate. Me too. It looks set to be a really good season. I'm really excited for the kickoff. Not long ago now, less than 2 weeks, Community Shield has happened. That's the curtain raiser, isn't it? We're on the finish straight. It's crazy how quickly the turnaround is. One thing that I just want to sort of end on, I was sat there and obviously everyone's been talking about Messi and, apparently the fact he's going to be leaving Barcelona. And if I'm not at Villa Park for when if Messi ever steps out of Villa Park and I'm not in the stadium, I think that would be really hard to take. And this dawned on me the other day. I was like, oh my God, Messi's going to come to the Premier League. I'm going to be able to watch Messi in Villa Park. And I was like, oh shit, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
which is really tough. That midfield battle of those two great football tens in Jack and Messi. God, wouldn't that be something, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's the new Messi versus Ronaldo, surely. Grealish versus Messi.
Sure,
I'd love to see a shirt swap at the end of that game, but man, what a sight that would be, Messi in the Premier League. But I mean, while we're high and giddy on that, on top of Grealish getting the call up, it's probably a good note to end the podcast on, Dan. It's been a short one. We've been busy, so apologies that we've not been able to get one out a bit earlier. But you know what? It probably worked in our favour with the news coming out today, because we'd have been flapping all over the place if we'd have got a podcast up yesterday and having to do one immediately the day after. And it had definitely been a lot shorter. But no, again, just like to really thank you guys for all the support as well. The channel is still growing insanely. I'm constantly refreshing my phone at work, seeing amazing comments and just so much support for what me and Dan are doing. We really appreciate that, don't we, Dan?
Yeah, man, it's so good to see. And look, it's been a long season. A lot of work from me and you has gone into this. And I just want to thank everyone that likes and comments and watches it, because it's why we do it, mate. I don't know about you, but you record this, and if you come back on to check in a little while, and there's all these comments and people saying things, and whether they're good, whether they're feedback, everything that people put in the comments is duly appreciated. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed this podcast, please do hit the like button and subscribe for more podcasts and content coming your way this season. We will be hitting it hard. You can bet your bottom dollar we will. We're going to try and be as consistent as possible with this podcast for you guys. It's what you guys deserve. It's what we enjoy doing. So yeah, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, whatever, follow, subscribe, like, do whatever you can on there. That is really helpful. We do have a lot of listeners actually who listen on Apple Podcasts. So again, thank you guys for that. Subscribe for more content and up the Villa.
Just as essential to fulfilling this got potential. It's a main man, a hero. He's the main leader of the gang.